Have you ever experienced a moment so strange, so perfectly timed, that it made you stop and wonder if something greater was at play? Like thinking of someone you haven't spoken to in years only for them to call you out of the blue. Or discovering a book that answers a question you've been silently carrying, as if it was placed in your path with purpose. These moments defy logic, laugh in the face of probability, and whisper to a deeper part of you that perhaps there's more to life than meets the eye. They seem random, yet they leave an undeniable impression, one that feels intentional, almost like the universe is winking in your direction. Such events are often brushed off as coincidences. We are taught to believe everything must be explained by cause and effect, that life is a straight line of facts and outcomes. But sometimes something else happens, something that doesn't fit into neat little boxes. There's a strange alignment between our thoughts and the events around us, as if life is communicating in a language beyond words. These moments seem to arrive just when we need them most, during times of confusion, change, or deep questioning, guiding us, comforting us, waking us up. You may have dismissed these experiences as chance, or maybe you felt their significance but had no words to explain them. Either way, they invite you to pay closer attention. Because what if these moments aren't accidents? What if they're messages, breadcrumbs leading you to something meaningful? Something that connects your inner world with the unfolding story of your life. Maybe, just maybe, what we call coincidence is actually the universe's way of reminding us that we are not alone and that everything truly is connected. In every culture, across time and tradition, humans have noticed something peculiar, moments that defy probability, coincidences that feel too meaningful to be random. These experiences are subtle, often fleeting, yet they carry a profound sense of purpose. It could be a dream that reflects real-life events the next day, an encounter with a stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear, or a series of repeating numbers that seem to follow you everywhere you go. These aren't just quirks of perception or figments of imagination. They leave an imprint, a feeling that something significant has occurred, even if it can't be measured or explained. In a world dominated by logic, science, and predictability, these experiences challenge our conventional understanding of how things work. We are trained to believe in linear cause and effect, to expect outcomes based on clear inputs. But what happens when something unexplainable enters that system? When an event has no clear origin yet feels deeply personal and timely? Many people dismiss these moments as coincidence, just random events strung together by chance, but deep down, most of us have felt something more. A whisper, a nudge, a sign. These moments often arise during significant transitions, moments of crisis, emotional intensity, or personal transformation. They appear when we're searching for direction, feeling lost, or standing on the edge of change. It's as if life itself is responding, offering a clue, a symbol, or a connection that helps us find our way. What if these events are not accidental, but intentional in nature? What if they are part of a greater pattern that links our inner thoughts and feelings with the events and symbols we encounter in the outside world? Such experiences invite us to look beyond the surface and ask deeper questions. Is there a hidden order behind the chaos? Are we somehow connected to something greater, something that knows our path before we do? These aren't just philosophical musings. They are grounded in countless personal stories that point to a reality that is interactive, intelligent, and responsive. The idea that our lives might be guided not just by reason, but by meaning, opens up a new way of seeing the world. It allows us to consider that what seems like a coincidence could actually be communication. And once we begin to see through that lens, everything around us starts to feel more alive, more intentional, more connected, more full of possibility. Modern life often teaches us to rely on logic, to trust only what can be proven, measured, or repeated in controlled conditions. We are encouraged to believe that events happen because of direct causes, and that anything outside of this framework is either luck or illusion. As a result, many people are conditioned to overlook or dismiss the unexplainable moments that seem to carry deeper significance. These meaningful coincidences, while stirring something profound within us, are often categorized as mere chance, as statistical flukes in a world run by cold calculation. But there is a quiet conflict hidden beneath this mindset. While the world around us pushes for facts and data, our inner lives are rich with emotions, intuitions, dreams, and questions that defy simple explanation. This creates a growing disconnect. On one hand, we are told to be rational, to stick with what's observable. On the other, we sometimes encounter experiences that feel too timely, too tailored, too precise to be accidental. These moments seem to echo something we're thinking or feeling, sometimes even before we consciously know it ourselves, and yet we're left with no framework to understand them, no language to validate them. This tension can lead to inner doubt. People who repeatedly experience these moments may begin to question their own perceptions. Are they imagining things? Are they reading too much into unrelated events? In the absence of validation, many stay silent. They keep these moments to themselves, afraid of being seen as irrational or superstitious. But the silence doesn't erase the experiences. It only creates confusion, isolation, and an undercurrent of longing for a deeper understanding. The problem lies in how our culture has reduced mystery to randomness. It tells us that if something can't be explained, it has no value. This mindset shuts the door on wonder, intuition, and meaning. It prevents us from fully engaging with the symbolic language life seems to speak from time to time. And in doing so, it denies us access to a dimension of reality that could hold answers, insights, and even guidance during our most uncertain moments. We are left with a question. Are these moments truly meaningless, or have we simply lost the tools to interpret them? The challenge is not that these events don't occur, but that we've forgotten how to see them, how to understand them, and how to listen to what they might be trying to say. To explore the idea of meaningful coincidences, we must begin by setting aside the assumption that all events are the result of direct, traceable causes. While causality explains a great deal about how the physical world operates, it doesn't account for the richness of human experience. It doesn't explain why, at a crucial turning point, someone might encounter exactly the message or person they needed. It doesn't explain why certain symbols, numbers, or dreams recur with uncanny precision at moments of emotional significance. These experiences don't follow the rules of logic, yet they resonate deeply with our inner world. Many cultures have long acknowledged a mysterious link between mind and matter. Ancient traditions speak of omens, signs, and divine timing. These beliefs weren't based on superstition alone, but on the recognition of patterns in life's unfolding. In such systems, the external world is seen not merely as background, but as a mirror, reflecting inner states transitions, or spiritual lessons. When viewed through this lens, coincidence takes on a new meaning. It becomes a form of connection between our personal journey and the greater web of life around us. In today's language, these moments are sometimes referred to as being in flow or experiencing alignment. They are typically marked by a sense of timing that feels perfect, a knowing that arises without explanation. You might think of a friend and suddenly see them on the street. You might ask for guidance silently, only to overhear a conversation that answers your exact question. These events have no visible cause, yet they bring clarity, affirmation, or insight. They seem to respond to the emotional or spiritual content of our lives rather than the mechanical flow of external events. Science, too, is beginning to catch up with this mystery. Fields like quantum physics and consciousness studies have opened doors to understanding reality in more complex ways. Concepts like non-locality and entanglement suggest that connections can exist beyond physical proximity and linear time. While we may not yet fully understand how or why these meaningful events occur, their consistency and impact on human experience make them impossible to ignore. What these moments teach us is that life may not be as random or disconnected as we often believe. They invite us to listen more deeply, to pay attention to patterns, and to honor the possibility that the universe is not indifferent, but responsive. They remind us that the mind and the world may be more intimately linked than we ever imagined. There comes a moment when a person experiences something so precise, so deeply aligned with their inner thoughts or feelings, that it shakes their understanding of how the world works. It might be a dream that predicts an event with startling accuracy, or a chance meeting that changes the direction of a life. In that moment, the boundaries between the inner world and the outer world blur, and everything feels charged with purpose. The logical mind may resist, but something deeper recognizes the truth unfolding. The individual is no longer merely witnessing life, they are participating in a dialogue with it. This realization often arrives at a time of emotional intensity or transition, when a person is searching for answers, struggling with uncertainty, or standing on the edge of transformation. A symbol, a word, an encounter appears, not with explanation, but with impact. It lands not in the intellect, but in the soul. Something inside says, pay attention, this matters. The experience cannot be proven, but it also cannot be forgotten. Such moments are not accidents. They feel orchestrated, not in the sense of being controlled, but in the way that music is orchestrated, a harmony of elements coming together to form a meaningful whole. These experiences don't just inspire wonder, they provoke change. They lead people to take risks, to heal, to trust the path ahead. They offer comfort in chaos, direction in doubt, and most importantly, they awaken a different kind of awareness, one that listens not only to logic, but to resonance, to timing, to intuition. The true turning point comes when one stops brushing these moments aside and starts honoring them. The shift is subtle but powerful. Instead of asking, was that just a coincidence? One begins to ask, what is this trying to show me? That question opens a door to deeper understanding, to personal growth, to a relationship with life that feels less mechanical and more mystical. It's not about abandoning reason, but expanding perception. This is the point where everything changes. The world is no longer seen as a series of disconnected events, but as a living field of meaning. the individual begins to trust that there is a rhythm to things, a pattern beyond prediction. And once that awareness is awakened, it becomes impossible to return to the old way of seeing. What was once coincidence is now recognized as conversation, and in that recognition life becomes infinitely more profound. As we step back and reflect on the nature of meaningful coincidences, one thing becomes clear. These moments challenge the rigid boundaries we've constructed between chance and purpose. They invite us to see life not just as a sequence of unrelated events, but as a rich tapestry in which our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances are mysteriously interwoven. Each seemingly random encounter or well-timed message is a thread that, when observed closely, reveals patterns too intricate to ignore. They don't speak the language of logic, but they communicate something deeper, something felt rather than calculated. The significance of these moments lies not in proving them to others, but in how they resonate within us. They don't offer explanations, they offer insight. They don't provide guarantees, they provide guidance. Whether it's a sudden realization sparked by a stranger's words or a repeated symbol that shows up just when needed, these experiences leave a lasting imprint. They act as signposts on the journey, helping us navigate choices, trust intuition, and stay aligned with a path that often reveals itself only one step at a time. What becomes evident is that life might not be as random as it appears. There may be an unseen intelligence at work, one that doesn't dictate outcomes, but gently nudges, echoes, and aligns. This view doesn't dismiss science or reason, rather, it complements them by adding another dimension to how we interpret our experiences. It welcomes mystery as part of the human condition, acknowledging that not everything meaningful can be measured or dissected. Living with this awareness encourages presence. It invites curiosity and openness, prompting us to ask deeper questions, to reflect on patterns, and to stay alert to subtle cues. Instead of constantly seeking control, we begin to cultivate trust, a trust that we are part of something larger, something purposeful. The beauty of this perspective is that it does not require belief in any particular system or doctrine. It only requires attention. The more we notice, the more we see, and the more we see, the more our relationship with life transforms from passive observation to active engagement. Meaningful coincidences are not interruptions in the flow of life, they are signals woven into it. And once we begin to recognize them, life itself becomes not just something we live, but something we learn to read. If you've ever felt the pull of a moment that seemed too perfectly timed to be random, now is the time to start paying closer attention. Begin by reflecting on your own life. Think about the times when events aligned in ways that felt almost magical, when the right person showed up, when a message arrived just when you needed clarity, or when symbols, numbers, or dreams echoed themes from your inner world. These experiences are not accidents to be forgotten. They are invitations to engage with life on a deeper level. You see, to how many seats? Start keeping a journal, not just of your thoughts, but of the patterns you notice. Write down those coincidences that strike a chord, the dreams that seem to carry meaning, the conversations that feel guided. Over time, you may start to see threads that connect what once seemed unrelated. You may begin to realize that the world is not a chaotic swirl of disconnected events, but a responsive, intelligent field that mirrors your inner state. The act of observation itself opens doors to understanding. Share your experiences with others. Conversations about meaningful coincidences often spark a recognition in those around us. You'll be surprised how many people have had similar moments but never voiced them for fear of sounding irrational. When we give space to these stories, we validate a shared human experience that transcends logic and awakens curiosity. Make space in your day to listen. Not just to people or media, but to life itself. Pay attention to the subtle nudges, the quiet signs, and the feelings that rise unbidden. Whether it's through meditation, silence, nature, or reflection, create room for these whispers to come through. You don't need to have all the answers. What matters is the willingness to be open, to explore, and to trust that meaning doesn't always arrive with explanation. When you start living in dialogue with life, you shift from reacting to events to co-creating your path. This shift is powerful. It brings depth, clarity, an unshakable sense that you are connected to something larger than yourself. So take the first step. Notice, reflect, share, trust, and let life show you just how meaningful it can truly be.